Welcome to the topic on HCC TV. I'm Todd Duplantis. Glad to have you with us today. If you're watching us on HCC TV, our cable channel, welcome to the show. We'd like for you to follow us in social media. You can find us as Houston Community College District. Look for us on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. If you go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get notifications when we post brand new shows like this one. This show, we're going to be focusing on Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. That is the month of May. In this episode of the topic, we're looking at some of the personal stories of our faculty and students. You know, HCC is the #1 in the nation as far as colleges that have two-year colleges, rather, for hosting international students. We're joined today by Tun Bala, a student from Myanmar, to learn more about the journey to HCC. Han, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to ask you first off, why HCC? What brought you to Houston Community College?
I came to the United States in 2015, right after my high school. Before I came here, I was doing research for studying abroad. And so when I was researching for college, but I didn't want to go to university right after the high school, because my country, the way I'm from, and the United States education system were slightly different. So I decided to study with college. So I was researching about the city and states which are like reasons price to living expenses or like better education, good education. So ACC was my top list. That's why I applied HCC.
Let me ask you this. Are your ultimate plans to continue your studies here in the States and stay and work here? Or do you have family here in the States, or do you plan on one day returning to Myanmar?
Yes. So I already graduated from ACC. So I'm currently in UH right now, and I'm studying banking and finance. And after graduation from UH, I'm planning to work here, and I only gonna go to my country as a visit.
Do you have a lot of family over here? What was that like making the transition to a brand new country?
When I came here, my sister was here first before me. So I lived with my sister for like a couple of years, and when she got a job from a different state, she moved to another state. So I currently live like alone by myself.
What was some of the biggest culture shocks when you first arrived? Were you fluent in English when you arrived, or is that something you needed to brush up on when you got here?
Most of the Asian countries, English is not American English, is British English. So what I learned from my high school was they use British English. So when I came here, there were like a language barrier, and a lot of people didn't really understand what I was talking about, and so I had to change my accent. To American English, and the culture is different too. But I tried to have students from the other Asian country, and we share a lot of interests in culture, and I learned a lot of new culture or their things that they are interested in, and also the people who are already from here. Yes. So the question is, yes, you can learn a lot of when you are different place or
Right.
different part of the world. Whatever you are, you can learn not just your religion or culture. You will learn a lot of different things and the things you never seen.
British English, that's interesting. So was there a big barrier with that? I mean, what were some of the things that you were struggling with as opposed to American English and British English?
It is different, yeah. So right now my accent is American English. So the friends that I had once I got here, when I met them like 2 years later, they were like, "What happened to your accent? What's
Yeah.
your what's your British accent?" I told them, "No, I had to change it because my British accent is sometimes confuse like teachers and other students. So that's why I had to change it. But it is a little bit difficult to change it because the accents and the way they're saying is quite different.
How does the educational system here in the States compare to Myanmar?
I would say before 2000, from 1962 to 2000, the Myanmar is one of the, Myanmar had one of the best education system in Asia, but when that, the military coup happened in 1988, we went downhill.
Right.
And when I came here, that's why I didn't go to UH like different. Straight. I decided to start with the college. Even though when I got into college, it's really different because over there in Burma, we learn from the book.
Mm-hmm.
Just the book. Here, we learn from not only in the book, we had to do the research from the library or outside world, and also in the exam in Burma, they just ask you the question from the book, and here they don't really ask you the question in the book. They ask you from what you learn from the book or in the library or in the real world.
Were you surprised when you got to Houston to find out that we had so many international students, literally from across the world?
I am surprised, yes. And I had a lot of international friends, not only the people from here, American. I had Vietnamese friends, Chinese friends, especially Korean friends, because I speak Korean too. So I speak a little bit Korean. So I had a huge community of Korean community. And I had friends from India or Bangladesh.
When you arrived here, is there anything you've had here that was unique, American food that you really like now that you never tried before?
I would say I choose Texas. One of the reasons I choose Texas, I want to try their Texas brisket.
Yeah. Did it meet what you were expecting?
Yeah, it was. The food is really nice, and Asian food and American food is always different. And in Asia, we use a lot of, like herbs and spices and oil. And American food is just like meat, bread, or corn, or some kind of like that. So it's quite different. But I like both. I prefer both.
Have you found any restaurants in Houston that remind you of your home?
Not in Houston, but because my country is neighbors to Bangladesh and India and China, so we're like in the middle. So wherever I go in Asian place, they have our kind of meal. So yeah, most Asian restaurants makes me think like I'm having a meal at my country.
We've been talking with Tun Bala as part of our AAPI Heritage Month celebration. Han, we appreciate you joining us on the show. Continued success with your studies and heading into the banking industry.
Thanks, Todd. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
When we come back, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll be meeting with one of our faculty members who joins us, and she's come here from India. Stay tuned. We're back on the topic after this.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color-coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Welcome to HTC.
Let me teach you. Let me help you get college credits.
Let me train you for a new career.
Let me change your life.
Come learn with us.
HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
Welcome back to the topic on HCC TV. If you're watching us on our cable channel, make sure you jump on over to social media. You can follow us as Houston Community College District. Find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We're all over the place. Of course, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe to that YouTube channel and get notifications when we post brand new shows. And by the way, if you're interested in podcasting, well, we've got all the audio versions of our shows available at hccs.edu/podcasts. We are talking about Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month here. It goes all throughout the month of May, and HCC attracts faculty members from around the globe. Dr. Anna Koshy, Associate Chair and Professor for Biology, came to HCC from India. She joins us now on the topic. Good afternoon. Good to see you, Dr. Koshy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to ask you this. What brought you to Houston, Texas when you arrived in here? What brought you here? And how did you find your way to HCC?
Well, I came because my mother used to be in Houston. So as a sponsored child, married child, I came here. But I was finishing my Ph.D., so I went back for 1 year and finished the Ph.D. and came back. So then Houston is my home place now, you know. So I came directly here, even though I've been to other places, but this is my home. So I looked for some, job and all that. It was not easy to find a job immediately when you land to any country. Say, do you have experience here in this country or not? That's the number one question. I also had a lot of questions is, when you're coming from India, oh, you're from India? Oh, so you speak some other language. So I would say the language barrier, I didn't have language barrier, but the people always imagine from other country means either language or this thing or that thing. So that was a big struggle I had to face, saying, no, I am so-and-so, and I can speak in English, But you're right. India is a country where we have 14 states, 14 different language, with national language Hindi, and the language of communication for instruction for schools and colleges are in English. And we have tribal languages, another 12 plus tribal languages that I don't even know. So this is a variety, a versatile place with a lot of languages, but we all communicate in English, our main medium of instruction, or Hindi when you go out for shopping and all that. But I am from a state where my mother tongue is a palindrome called Malayalam, that word, we can write in any way the same spelling. So I am so much versatile into that too. But when I come to this country, for example, I do feel homely when you have culture and all the other Indians, but they may be speaking few different languages. So we have to communicate in English or Malayalam only if they are from a particular state, or Kerala, or if I am meeting somebody from North India where I studied, then I suddenly switch my whole topic into Hindi. But when I are in this work, everybody, we communicate in English. So that was a prediction people had that took some time to change that. No, our medium of instruction was in English. But of course, we had struggled with money, job, and everything when you come here to a place and to try to keep up your tradition and to culture and with American culture. And since we are part of America now, so So I would say that's the way now HCC is open wide with my experience. I worked in Baylor and UT as a researcher.
Right.
I did my postdoc and research associate trainings. And then I went as associate professor, as assistant professor in TSU, and slowly moved to HCC. I just moved actually because HCC was really, really new. It's 50 years now, right? So it was kind of 35 years. So 31 years I'm in HCC now. So think about 31 years back, it was not that large. It was only everything in OneDrive. So when you apply, you have no guarantee whether you're going to be in. So I taught adjunct first when I was full-time in university. So I would say HCC opened the door for me where I saw the versatile, diverse people around, and I got the real welcome. And that's how I'm here. And I have full passion for my teaching in HCC.
Tell me, why is HCC so attractive to international students? You've been here for quite a while. Did we always have a large international body? And what makes us so attractive now?
I would say the time where 31 years, I've seen a progression of international students with more open door policy for admissions. But of course, they had struggled because of the visas and all only, right? But not for the study part. To me, I'm from a country where the education was double strict than we are here. So to me, we didn't have any problem. Or from England, or the British English, when they say, yes, I do have British English accent in the beginning, but that is not the bad part at all, because if you look at, this is a country with versatile, completely diverse people from all over the world, have a different accent for their speaking. But when I'm teaching biology, for example, biology is universal. So the Greek and Latin is the language we all speak in that time. So I would say HCC is where we have the international students, everybody welcome those different accent professors too. And I love to teach, so I have the passion. And of course, they have to struggle where you need to sometimes out of the way help them because they have to feel homely. Our American children, I would say, they are kind of already at home. And they are the far people. So HCC really have a lot of international festivals and programs where I am part in. And that's what I enjoy in HCC, an open door to international students more and more in this 31 big progression. Excellent, keep it up.
You mentioned the festivals. Is that one way you can keep connected to your Indian heritage? I mean, it seems to me that Houston does have a very large Indian population. So there's a lot of festivals. Is that one way that you can keep connected to the traditions and culture?
Yes, I see a small India right here. I also see a small Kerala, the state I am from, right here in Houston. So I would say, we have a lot of programs, a lot of festivals like Pongal, Holi, color festival with colors. Pongal was the New Year festival. Then we have an Onam, which is a harvest festival. Then we have Diwali festival with lights and Dashera. So since I studied in North India, I was part of many, not just my state that my parents are from, or only keeping up that. So that helped me to socialize with, since we have a lot of Indian community culture events. Too many events, if I would say, because they don't miss any of this festival. So our children who are born and brought up here also know our culture and mingle with. And it's a part of community. So I'm into community service as well. So I do convey that to my international students. And I'm also conveying with my Bera Bera National Honor Society. I'm also faculty advisor from HCC from last 11 years. So there also I get versatile students where some international festival where we will be wearing the Indian dress, somebody will wear the, different culture like Chinese dress, Japanese, they all have their little costumes. So we keep up that in our community, not only in India, I would say it's international, but in India, yes, they do have a lot of festivals, a lot of public officers now are from India too. So we always say we are American Indian, and cultural heritage, we try to keep up as best as we can. And my children, they are following that, I would say my generation, yes.
We've been talking with Dr. Anna Koshy. She is an associate chair and professor for biology here at Houston Community College. We appreciate you joining me, Dr. Koshy. Thanks for being here and talking about AAPI month.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll talk about multicultural learning here at Houston Community College and in the States. Stay tuned. The topic returns after this.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering them could save you from having a stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals. HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
Welcome back to the topic on HCC TV. I'm Todd Duplantis. We're talking about Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. It stretches throughout the month of May, and we're celebrating it here on the topic today. Today, we're hearing personal stories of faculty and students from Asia and the Pacific. We're joined now by Bennie Flores Ansell. She's a professor of studio art and photography and originally from the Philippines. Hello, Bennie. How are you?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Todd.
I'll ask you the question I've asked everybody so far. What brought you here to the States?
So in 1967, my father saw that martial law was coming into the Philippines, and he always wanted us to grow up in a democracy. So there was a call for engineers and architects at that time in the States. So he brought our family to Connecticut, and I lived there the first 10 years of my life, and grew up there, and then also grew up in Florida, where I met my husband.
How old were you, if you don't mind, when you first arrived in the States?
I was 6 months old.
Okay, so you really don't remember the transition, I would imagine.
No, not at all. I've just heard about it.
What was your experience growing up in Connecticut for the first 10 years?
So I think we were probably the only Asian family there. So I think it was kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And it was difficult sort of not having, you talked about multiculturalism, not having sort of that at the time in the 70s when I grew up. I didn't see a likeness of myself in popular culture and popular media. So I think that was difficult not to see representation. And I think a lot of this is coming to the fore right now with, brown and black people not feeling represented across the board.
How do you incorporate multiculturalism in any teaching experience? I mean, you're a professor of studio art and photography. How do you incorporate that in what you're teaching?
Well, I think, first off, I walk in the room and they see a professor of color. I think it starts off right off the bat.
Yep.
And I try to show my students artists of color, not sort of just the typical Western canon that I was taught. So as well as enlighten them to local artists, enlighten them to what's happening in the city. There's so much happening here in Houston. And you talked about HCC being an international place or a place for international students. Houston is the most international city, I think, in the United States. And I just love being here. So, I try to point things out to them as they come up in our discussions. And I also ask them about their cultures. And if there's something that they see within the work that maybe I didn't see because of the cultures that they've come from.
What do you think American-born students gain from having an international presence in their classrooms like we have at HCC?
Oh, I've witnessed it happen before. I remembered a student who had to leave and be absent because she had to go back to Venezuela to vote.
Wow.
I asked her, would you mind telling everybody why you're going to be absent? So I think them having firsthand experience of what's going on around the world from the other international students I think is just such an education that they wouldn't get otherwise if they were just with American students.
Obviously, our classrooms have changed since you first arrived here in the States. Are we headed in the right direction?
Whoa, that's a big one. And I don't know if we have enough time in this short amount of time. I think we're trying our best. I think, as I mentioned, I think more stories coming to the fore. I think more experiences coming to the fore. Questioning of histories that we've been handed. Today is like the anniversary of what happened in Tulsa.
Right.
And I only learned about that last year because of the show, Watchmen. And, you kind of wonder what other histories are there out there that we don't know. And I think a lot of people are looking into that and seriously thinking, okay, so what have I not learned about my own culture? Because I think we're all sort of seeking that too.
To switch subjects a bit, I understand you have a very strong interest in sharing Filipino cuisine.
Yes.
What is the scene like here in Houston? I know, you were talking about international city. We've certainly got a large array of cuisine around the city. And I guess you could literally walk out your house if you live inside the Loop and you're going to find a food truck somewhere that's serving Filipino or a version of Filipino food. Do you have any favorites that you recommend?
Oh, definitely. Food is something that I'm very proud of in the Filipino heritage. I think it was a way that we could share who we were. And my mother's a very good cook, so she would cook pancit and lumpia, sort of like the egg rolls.
Yep.
And so I love that there's been this explosion in the States for Filipino food, and specifically in Houston, there's a food truck called Flippin' Patties.
Yeah. We've had them on the show, on our morning show.
I saw that. And now they have a brick and mortar place, so I'm glad to see that. There's another food truck that's new that's called Forks and Knives. There are two sort of brick and mortar places, Max's Fried Chicken, specifically from Manila. And when my mom was visiting me, we went there on her birthday and she was so thrilled. And I was like, how good is this fried chicken? It was pretty fantastic. So
wait a second here. Max's Fried Chicken it's Manila cuisine. I mean, you never would think that.
Well, you can get pancit there, and you can get other things there too. So, but it's amazing fried chicken.
You mentioned a few of your favorite things from the Philippines. Do you have a favorite recipe as well?
Yes, there's a recipe that I make sort of as my comfort food. It's just chicken adobo. It's a very savory dish that I marinate for a night or two in soy sauce and vinegar. And anyone who ever has it wants the recipe, and they make it part of their cooking rotation at their own homes. Yeah,
so I've done the soy sauce and the vinegar, but I also know there's an adobo spice. Do you ever use that as well?
I don't. We don't use that in our cooking. But yeah, I know that there's an adobo, and I think that's sort of more Spanish. But
right.
Spanish is, the Philippines were a colony of Spain, so I think there's a lot of crossover within the cuisines and dishes.
Well, I imagine so. I mean, we were just hearing a few minutes ago about India and all the different dialects and the languages and, around the country. But the Philippines, you had a lot of people come there from across, and you've got Spanish influence. I imagine there's some French and English influence there in your foods as well.
Yes, definitely. Most definitely. Yes.
Well, if anyone's interested in your recipe for the chicken adobo, you're going to send us the recipe, and we'll put that in the social media post for the show.
Okay, excellent.
Bennie, we appreciate you joining us. We've been talking with Bennie Flores Ansell. She's a professor of studio art and photography here at HCC. Thanks for being here on the show for AAPI month.
All right. Thank you, Todd.
And thank all of you for joining us. As I mentioned, always try to find us in social media. You can follow us as Houston Community College District. We're available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget about our podcasts. You can always download the audio versions of the show at hccs.edu/podcasts. For the topic on HCC TV, I'm Todd Duplantis, and I'll see you next week.